Hello, everyone, and welcome to Burn the Ship, the podcast that helps entrepreneurs go all in on their business, and we introduce them to professionals that can help them to do so. Today, we have a very special guest. Jim, how are you doing today?
Hey, real good. Yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't complain. It's a beautiful day out there. Jim, please introduce yourself and the name of your organization.
Well, thank you. Yeah, my name's Jim Baringhaus. I'm with the Greenleaf Commission on Sustainability for the city of Livonia, Michigan.
Awesome, awesome. We so look forward to learning more about you doing there with that commission. But before we do that, we want to learn a little bit more about you, Jim. We understand that time is one of our most valuable resources. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about your story.
Okay, a little bit about myself. Basically, born and raised in the Detroit area. Um, my career basically started very interestingly. I do have an automotive background, but I credit my grandfather for that. He worked for Ford Motor Company, heard lots of stories about him working with Henry Ford and some of the other key events with Ford. Kind of followed along with that and actually began working with American Motors. And then after that, it was just a series of mergers, eventually winding up with Fiat Chrysler. So, a lot of interesting history that I saw in that business and a lot of great lessons that I learned that I could apply to other areas of my life as well.
Awesome, awesome. How long were you in there? How long were you there? Was that the 2019 that back there?
Oh, yeah. Basically, 38 years in the auto industry. Like I said, a lot of different mergers from American Motors to Chrysler to Daimler Chrysler to Cerberus to Fiat Chrysler. So
Okay.
you saw a lot of different companies.
Mm-hmm.
You saw a company that was basically local in the US with Chrysler. Suddenly, my job went global with both Daimler Chrysler
Mm.
and Fiat Chrysler. And it really wasn't a direction I anticipated with my life. It was more like the circumstances presented themselves. So you adapt and you expand. And it was a great adventure.
Okay, awesome. Were you in a managerial role? Were you a recruiter? Tell us a little bit about some of those
Yeah,
experiences.
I was in a managerial role,
Okay.
basically working with our dealer networks. I worked with dealerships around the country. And then also when I was brought into central office, I was put in areas like business planning, where I had to develop new maybe processes and techniques for the company, things like taking live training on bringing it online, some of the early versions of that. We worked on areas like integrating internet into the auto industry, which you see today, and even something as far reaching as we're exploring virtual reality and other new technologies that could be applied to the auto industry in the future. So it was a fascinating experience and really enjoyed working with some very creative people.
Awesome. Awesome. So 38 years in the industry. Was it where it was just time for you to retire from that situation, or did they want to retire you from that situation? How did that end up for you?
Well, I think it was a case of where, you hit a point in your life where you just feel like I've done all I can and like, what's the next chapter? What's the next opportunity? And what I had been doing in addition to working for Chrysler, I was doing some work with the city government for the city of Livonia. I was first appointed to the zoning board of appeals, and then through conversations with the city councilman, his name is Brandon Kritzman, uh, he talked about his vision of developing a sustainability commission for the city of Livonia. And that's kind of where I started burning down the ship.
I gotcha. I gotcha. Yeah, it's one of those things where you were in the industry for so long, but then you had a passion for making sure that the city was taken care of, in a green sense. Now, I know there are a lot of other opportunities for you after you finished the automotive career, but Jim, was there a specific event that happened that made you say, "I'm going to burn the ship and go all in on this commission"?
Again, I think it goes back to the point of, you reach a decision point where you find that your interests shift. At one point you're focused on your first career, but then that second chapter starts to appear and starts writing itself as well. I think with the Greenleaf Commission, one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to start a revolution, have a conversation.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what was happening with Greenleaf. There were a lot of residents interested in doing this as well as myself. So we were getting together as a discussion group and kind of building momentum from there.
Good, good. So you guys got the ball rolling, and now you guys have it going. I know you have been there since 2017 now. So tell us a little bit about what it is that you're doing, how you're helping the city, and some of the ways that we can help you.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we were basically we started as a citizens advisory group. The city started seeing the value in having us looking at these issues for them. So we did that for a little while. And then in 2017, we were formally made a city commission, and which was so we're actually the city's newest commission as well. So what we've done from there is basically looked at the city, and one thing I think the city needed is it didn't have recognition for its environmental efforts, even though it did have a history of being environmentally active. So we were able to, through our work, get recognized by like an organization called the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, or SEMCOG, for our environmental leadership. Working with the state of Michigan, we were recognized first as a bronze level community for our environmental efforts, and then eventually we're currently silver level certified, and we're um, closing in on our gold level certification. Now, what does that mean? It means that we're active in a lot of different areas. The city has a master plan called the Livonia Vision 21 Master Plan. And what we did is we looked at our commission and then we broke it up in terms of the goals of that plan. So we divided ourselves into teams. One part of us focus on green infrastructure. Another area we focus on is tree ordinances, tree replacements for the city so we can maintain green canopies. We're also looking at EV infrastructure areas and then also solid waste and recycling. So that's kind of some of the things at a very high level. Specifically, if you look at like with EV infrastructure, we're working with a company to develop 6 sites in the city on city properties where we'll be installing EV charging stations.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we've been promoting EV vehicles in Livonia by doing uh, events called Drive Electric Livonia, where we bring people together and we actually give them the opportunity to ride in electric vehicles, which kind of they find it fascinating and enjoyable. So things like that, we give them hands-on experience. We've also expanded our recycling programs. We've went from smaller orange bins to larger recycling carts, which is not only helps collect more materials, but reduces greenhouse gas emissions in the community as well. We've also branched into other areas of recycling, like battery recycling. And also, we've been working with Goodwill Greenworks. We partner with a lot of companies like that, and we've introduced styrofoam recycling into our community as well. So that's just kind of a brief overview on what we're working on. We also look at other areas. We're testing out if solar powered streetlights are feasible for our community, and we've done some local residential solar programs where we get residents together and they'll do a group buy
Hmm.
on residential solar systems, which saves them money in the long run because they're buying in volume rather than individually. So a lot of creative ideas, and we'll listen to any idea and give it a try.
Hey, listen, you guys have done a magnificent job of uplifting the city, trying to make sure that it's just energy efficient and making sure that you're taking care of your waste and doing it in in a sensible manner. And I wanted to ask, on top of all of those great things that you guys have already done, what are some of the things that you're looking to get accomplished in the future?
Well, what we're doing, looking at getting accomplished in the future, is one of the key things is getting the EV infrastructure placed in the city. Right now, we're working with DTE, which is Detroit Edison, to get all the permits and sites approved
Mm-hmm.
and get that project going. It's taken a while, but we're getting there. Another key project we'd like to get in place is recycling education.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, seeing how we can actually utilize technology to do that. Perhaps it's messages through cell phones, um, email blasts out to the community. Just how can we make this information more dynamic so people can readily have it as well? We're looking at opportunities for renewable energy. Can we can we put the entire city on green energy? That's another project. One other thing we're looking at is something called a zero waste event. And we've been working with the Livonia Spree, which is like our annual city festival.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing is the Livonia Spree is working with a company that specializes in a zero waste event, which means that this event will produce no waste. In other words, there's no trash. It's all as much as possible is recycled. So we've started down that path to making the Livonia Spree a zero waste event. And that'll be about a 3-year process. So we're excited about that. And then looking at other local, smaller events in the city. We At one event we started food composting at it, so we're reducing waste there. Other events we're introducing biodegradable um, eating utensils and plates again, so you can recycle these items rather than putting them in a landfill. The more we can divert from a landfill, that'll reduce not our greenhouse gas emissions, reduce costs to the city, and just generally actually help create jobs and also reduce the cost of production of new materials. So a lot of very positive benefits.
Awesome, awesome. You guys have been doing a magnificent job of providing a roadmap to the city and the businesses on how to be efficient when it comes to waste and energy. And another thing that I know that you guys do are recognize those businesses that stand out for doing that. Can you tell us a little bit about your Greenleaf Award that you do each year?
Yeah, sure. We're really proud of this, and it's actually I think it's a very interesting award. Early on, when we became a commission, we worked with the Livonia Chamber of Commerce, and our goal was we knew there were businesses in Livonia that were doing very positive things for the environment and made it part of the daily operations. So we wanted to recognize those businesses as being environmental leaders in our community. So we created the City of Livonia Greenleaf Award. And this is presented in February in conjunction with the Livonia Chamber of Commerce. And it's interesting. There's a variety of businesses that take different approaches on this. We've recognized businesses that have basically went to lead certification on their buildings as well. So we're showing the city that businesses in the city are reducing their energy consumption, looking at green materials, being very environmentally conscious. Other businesses we looked at, interesting one was the End Grain Woodworking Company. And what this company does is it takes buildings in the area, disassembles them, and then reuses that wood for furniture and other materials. And what this company does for us is we actually, for the trophy for the Greenleaf Award, they will take a historic Livonia building that they've disassembled and turn it into a trophy rather than just going down to your neighborhood trophy shop and buying some acrylic trophies. So
Mm-hmm.
it shows you can recycle these materials, and it gives um, the recipient really a piece of Livonia history. And on the trophy itself, we like to stamp the building and the year it was created. So they have that little piece of history itself. But in terms of other things, we really believe we've done other things like with Goodwill Greenworks. They've brought styrofoam recycling into our community as well. Other companies, we have one of the few carbon-free, uh, carbon zero actually businesses in the state of Michigan with Fraser Tea. They started as a very small mail order business, and they've grown nationally as well. So not only can you be an environmental leader, you can also be a leader in your business as well. So these are the kind of lessons we want to share with the community and share with other businesses. And we're always on the lookout for new businesses that we can present to the community. We It's not uncommon that we'll look at a business for a couple of years, watch them grow, and then nominate them for the award. So it's a very ongoing process, but it's fascinating. It shows the new directions that businesses are going in. Businesses are recognizing that being environmentally responsible is attractive to their customers and it gives them a competitive edge.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for explaining that and talking a little bit about your journey, talking about your experience in business and now what you are doing with the commission. Jim, I am confident that over that time, you have acquired and nurtured some business skills or best practices that have helped you to be successful. Do you mind sharing with the audience that's watching today a couple of those best practices?
Oh, certainly. One of my, I think, best practices came from my automotive background because I worked with a lot of Chrysler dealers nationwide. Some of these were very large stores, and they own multiple dealerships, which it's a very complicated business because if you look at a car dealership, it's really four businesses rolled into one. So it takes a lot of managerial experiences to run one of these successfully. I asked one of my dealers, I said, you run so many stores, how do you do it? He goes, well, Jim, when someone comes to me with a new idea, I ask three questions. First one is, does it drive gross? Yes or no. Second question is, does it reduce expenses? Yes or no. And if it doesn't do either, then why are we doing it? And I think it's a great question because it really summarizes the issue quickly to see, what the potential is for this project before you invest heavily and move forward with it as well.
Mhm.
Another item I really like to do is when we do start a project, I like to first start with the strategy. There's always a tendency to just dive right into tactics without looking at the big picture. So I do a simple strategy framework. What I like to do is start with the status of, well, where are we at today? That's the first step. Your second step is where do you want to be in the future? So what's your end goal? And then the third thing I like to do is identify the key steps in the path to getting to that future goal. And then the fourth thing I like to look at, what are the obstacles that we can anticipate encountering? Because then it forces you to, first of all, identify those obstacles. And secondly, devise some approaches to getting around those obstacles. So you're starting off with a fairly simple, high level, big picture. But then as you get deeper into the project, at least it gives you a framework where you can and to start thinking about these situations and acting accordingly.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with having a roadmap because at least you have some sense of where you're going. If you don't have anything at all, have no guidelines, no boundaries, and you can just wander off into the forest when you're just simply trying to get down the street. So I definitely
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing that with us. Now, Jim, we've talked a lot about business, the commission, but I want to take a few minutes and talk about yourself. So let's just say that the commission has come along good. You're getting a lot of these initiatives accomplished, and time and money is not an issue. What is it that Jim would do if he had all the time to himself and didn't have to worry about anything else?
Well, if Jim had all the time in the world, had nothing else to worry, probably two things. One would basically be I do love history, and I've read a lot of history. I always tell people I read books in the library nobody wants to check out, but um, I find it fascinating, and I think I also like traveling to historical places. So my wife and I have traveled quite a bit. In fact, in October, we're going to be going to Paris, and it's always been one of my dreams since I was a kid to see Notre Dame.
Hmm.
And naturally, you couldn't see it because of the fire, so it was closed. So it's reopened now, so I'm really looking forward to that. I think the other thing too is just taking time to just enjoy your family and the environment around you. Because a lot of times, even though you do work on environmental issues, sometimes you forget to smell the flowers in the grass, if you know what I mean.
I do. I do understand that.
So it's always good to have a little reconnection now and then. It kind of grounds you and shows you why you're doing this and why it's important, not only for our generation, but for future generations as well.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jim. Now, if the people that are watching today have questions about your journey, have questions about the commission, they want to help in some sort of way, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Two ways. You're welcome to email me at, again, my name's Jim Baringhaus. My email address is jbaringhaus, BARINGHAUS, at Livonia, LIVONIA.gov. If you want to talk to me directly, give me a call. I mean, my number is 734-838-7957. So if you want to chat, if you have an idea you'd like to kick around with me, love to hear about it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Jim, we truly do appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing with us. You know, it's not always that easy to share those up, downs, and all the rounds. So we always honor our guests by giving them the last word. So Jim, please look into the camera and tell the people something good.
Well, thank you. First of all, thanks for inviting me today and sharing my story with everybody. And I think one of the thoughts that I have is basically a quote is, essentially what your mind can conceive and believe it will achieve. And I've always used that as kind of guidance through the ups and downs, the dark periods, that you just focus on your goal. Like they say, keep your eye on the prize. Uh, it'll happen. It'll happen. I mean, you, you won't know why, but just there's times where if you just stay the course, it'll magically come together in a way you really hadn't imagined. So again, thanks for the opportunity, and I've enjoyed visiting today.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, Jim. And to everyone that is watching, be kind and thanks.